I've always been pretty interested in stress. Stress is something that I've dealt with, and everyone else pretty much has as well. Everybody knows what it feels like. It's an innate part of human nature, I feel. As kids, we have no idea what the stress of the real world is like. I remember personally being frustrated in 5th grade because our teacher assigned us math homework over the weekend one day. The audacity, I thought to myself. She has no right to do that to me. She was robbing me of my time. And when I got older, it only got worse, as it does for everyone else. I remember having to do a book report in the second week of 7th grade, and I was aghast. After all, the teachers had no right to take up our time outside of school. Because that's our time, right? Meant for us. Truth be told, I'd kill for a singular book report to be my only assignment for the next 2 weeks. I'm sure my report was only like a page of writing max, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to waste my own time like that. And so the predicament continues onward. Even in college, I often find myself thinking, I can't do this, and this assignment is unreasonable to complete in this amount of time. Will future me look back on this moment in a few years from now and think that the me of the present is being lazy? Or will I ever look back and say, wow, that was actually really difficult and unfair? And this thought, this idea, even has the possibility to go all the way into the workplace in which I find myself a few years from now. I just feel very overwhelmed right now, and I'm not really certain whether or not that feeling ever goes away. And if it doesn't, then how do people deal with it in their everyday lives? This thought actually really interested me when I first thought about it, and I figured I'd interview some people who maybe have a little bit more real-world experience than I do in the workplace right now. My first target was my parents.
I asked you guys to introduce yourselves. Can you introduce yourself one by one and say what you do so that people get an idea?
Go first.
I am Rebecca Lister. I teach in a college, and I am a music professor, and I teach singing and other academic classes that have to do with music.
I'm Doug Lister. I used to teach music. I have 2 degrees in music, but I right now am doing home repairs and remodeling and odds and ends, kind of like a handyman. I am just doing odds and ends for anybody.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stress level of your job on a scale of 1 to 10?
12.
I wouldn't say my stress level is really that high. Again, I control almost every aspect of it. It gets frustrating because things just don't go smoothly always.
Plumbing.
Yeah.
Yes, when I have to make my 3rd trip to Lowe's for the day, that can be pretty tiring. But no, I on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 7 on a bad day. And then some days it's just not even that. It's just a matter of going through the motions.
Looking back at your experiences in college, how did you feel about your assignments? Were you ever overwhelmed with them?
Very overwhelmed. It's, we were both music majors, and as music majors, you're doing your classes all during the day, and then at night you're back doing other rehearsals or practices, or you're in the practice room and practicing, so it's nonstop.
I tried to practice a couple of hours every day just on my own, not counting the other ensembles that you're in. The fewest credits I ever had was 18, and the most was like 21. So
Me
had
too.
very, very little time.
Has that stress that you experienced in college translated over where you're still worrying about that kind of thing? How do you feel about your workload?
You go first.
Well, I was going to say, you still have those stress streams. but and I have had them, but not any recently. My stress now comes from the inability to just get to everything that I have to do in terms of the planning, and jobs always seem to take longer than I anticipate.
Well, and he's doing 4 things. So he's not just doing the building, but he's doing the drawing of the plans, then the shopping, then the doing, then the billing. So it's all of those things. So it's a lot.
It's a lot. Plus come home and get her dinner.
True.
Fix her dinner.
And I would say that I feel like I'm still in college, because I am.
Mhm.
And because it's the very same schedule as my students have. It's nonstop. It's all day long, sometimes all evening long, weekends, everything. So it's just nonstop.
Because she's taking classes.
Yes.
Teaching
and I'm doing
classes
that.
and teaching and
And
taking classes.
That's right.
Do you ever feel lazy or stuck in the position that you're in?
Well, I can say no, because nobody's making me do what I'm doing. I do it because it's what I choose to do. Again, where I get hang-ups is just when I get where I feel I'm behind schedule, when a job takes too long, or I get a couple of jobs that take too long, and then everybody else gets pushed back. If I'm overcommitted.
I feel backed up in my job just because I feel like it's never ending. I feel like there's never a day where I can just sit and say, I have nothing to do today. I've always got something to do.
Do you ever feel like you're not doing enough, like you should be doing more, but you're not doing anything?
I don't ever feel like I don't ever feel, no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm just always busy all the time. I've never stopped.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say, I mean, I could always do more, because there's, like she said, there's never an end to the list.
Mm-hmm.
You can always do more. But I also feel like it's important to be able to say, that's enough for today. It's 8:30 or it's even 7:30, and I've just done all I can do for today. It won't go away, so you just pick it up tomorrow.
When you are stuck in those, I don't want to say ruts, but whenever you feel that way, how do you change your mindset? What are some things that you do, either escapism or getting your mind off things? How do you do that?
I go on walks, probably would be my biggest thing that helps me just get away from work, or just helps me think about work in a different way. I'll study a lot of times while I'm walking, and probably just, watching Netflix, watching TV. That's really, and reading. I like to read.
And I have to do something totally different also, just like that's why I'm always doing a puzzle or something, just to take my mind off of it. And that in a way is problem solving, but it's a different kind of problem solving. When I beat the game, it gives me an immediate sense of gratification, which finishing a job does too, but this is just much more small scale.
What advice would you give to me or a person like me in order to make them feel better about being in a stressful environment? Because obviously, as a student, I kind of feel the same way as you do as a college professor. If not a little bit less stressed than you are, probably, because you have to get all your information right and you have to do things with all of your students, whereas students are kind of just doing their own thing for themselves. What advice would you give to somebody looking to de-stress their day, or to take a load off their shoulders?
Well, I would say first of all, do make sure you're eating, because I know a lot of my students, I don't feel like they eat properly or well or regularly. And some of that is their schedule, is, if they have an irregular schedule, it's hard for them to do that. But I would say do make sure that you're eating properly so that you're at least getting enough energy to do that. And I would say, again, probably just what we do, which is when it's getting overwhelming, stop it and go do another activity for a period of time to just give yourself a break. And, you know, half hour or so of doing something else, whether it's exercising or watching something or being with your friends or going and getting some coffee or something like that.
And sleep.
And sleeping is
Plenty
really
of-
important.
Plenty of sleep.
Really important.
Just heard a story a couple of days ago that people who slept more gained less weight.
Well,
There's a connection,
and you just feel better
and you feel better.
when you're sleeping.
Stress can build, and don't stay up late. And also, and you're gonna hate this, stay off the computer games.
Well,
Especially
I don't do any of those things you just said.
what, getting sleep?
Yeah, I don't get sleep really.
It's
well.
hard to do.
So,
And again, I remember those days where you'd go to bed, where going to bed at midnight was early.
Was early.
Yeah, I remember it. But I've learned that once I've been in the workplace, that it really is important to keep a schedule and get the sleep. Even when you haven't finished everything that you need to do for the day, sometimes you just need to say, I'm going to bed.
Being given that advice did help, but it didn't really answer my question fully, I don't think. I think it's important when you're given information from a person to cross-reference that information with another source. The next logical step was to get advice from other people who maybe have the same type of stress relief methods as my parents do. And so I moved on to my girlfriend's parents.
Okay, you go first.
Hey, I'm Brad Hubbard, and right now I'm a senior consultant for a home builder software company. So I get to work with home builders all across North America, teach different classes each week. Prior to this, spent 23 years in the family home building business, and have since joined this back in 2017.
Okay, I'm Pam Hubbard, and previously I was a IT technical consultant or application development consultant, I have different names for it, where I was more in charge of developers, not from a reporting perspective, but more like guiding them through the process of when you get in an application and what we have to do and how do we implement that into our system.
As you guys know, we're talking about stress in the workplace, and so I wanted to know, as our first question, what would you rate your stress levels in your job on a scale of 1 to 10?
10's the highest, or?
10's the highest, yeah. 10's the highest. You can give decimal points if you want to be more accurate.
I'm probably about a 1 at this point.
1?
Yeah.
Really?
Heck
Tell me
yeah.
more about that.
I guess when you really love what you're doing and are comfortable with what you're doing at each time, and considering
Really?
stuff and past experiences I've had, it's nothing right now. So
Huh. Does traveling feel weird not being at home? Does that elevate your stress at all? I know you said it makes you a 3.
yeah, I mean, really doesn't much other than knowing it's nice to come home as
Right,
well. And,
yeah.
and certainly, I
I'm
guess
sure.
I stressed a little bit over her being home all the time, and
Yeah.
I know that troubles her a good bit. So I get more worried about that too.
So you enjoy traveling then? You would say? you
Yeah, it's not
enjoy
bad at all.
traveling. Okay.
It's not bad. I mean, going through the airports and all, just
Yeah.
it's boring.
But you don't get rescheduled
Yeah,
a million times before you
Yeah.
get home.
or get
Yeah.
stuck in a city overnight or something
Mhm.
like that.
How about you?
Now I would say probably a 5.
A 5. Okay.
If you asked me 5 months ago, I would say
Yeah.
a 12.
We're actually going to get into that.
would say a
you're the
12.
main concern of this interview. Okay, so you'd say a 5 now, and what would you say for your previous job?
10, or if I go above 10, it would have been above
Okay,
10.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What is something that both of you do to decompress after a stressful week? Could be anything. Could be you're at your hotel and you arrive home and you're like, I need to do something because I'm stressed.
Certainly I love cycling. So
Mhm.
whether it's inside or outside or something like that, like try to do that. Other than that, just kind of hanging, and doing nothing actually,
And I need to get out of the house. I need to physically get out of the house.
Yeah.
Because part of my stress, which it's not even very stressful right now, but what I don't get being around people, whatever, I just need to get out of the house, because if I work all day here, I mean, sometimes I'll go down to the basement and cycle or something, but it's not doing the same thing of what I need. I need to just get out and about. So.
Do you think that it's okay to feel overwhelmed on a daily basis in your workplace? No.
I think that when you can be in meetings all day and listening and doing whatever you're supposed to be and preparing what you're supposed to be doing for the day, and you've been in 7 hours of meetings, and then you need to finally start your day in order to do the information and research and whatever to support what you really need to do, and then you're adding multiple hours on top of that every single day on a continuous basis for months and months, it just burns you out. It's just too much on a consistent basis. It gets too much.
Where would you draw the line from being okay to be stressed and not okay?
When you're losing sleep over it, when
Gotcha.
you start not being able to focus, when you forget things all the time. Like when you put all those things together, it's like you can see your stress level is just extreme. And when you feel like even your whole mood has changed, all those things kind of come together, and then you just finally realize, I mean, it's not like you haven't been realizing it, but this kind of thing can kind of just all of a sudden you're just like, okay, this is way too much. And I mean, like it took me 2 years to probably, or maybe something close to that, to finally be like, okay, I can't take this anymore.
You said you didn't even feel like you were you anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons you gave at the time you left your last job.
Yep.
I remember saying that.
Yep. Yeah. But I mean, part of it was like not being able to sleep too and stuff, because you just felt like you were, you'd sleep, you'd wake up, and then you couldn't sleep the rest of the night, and then you had to go function again the next day. And but yeah, I felt like my personality was completely different within a 2-year period of time.
I guess the last question is, what is some advice you would give to people who find that their stress crosses that threshold?
I think that some of it would be some of the things early on that were giving me those hints that I was trying to deny, or I thought that they were going to go away. Start noticing them a little bit sooner, like some of those things about lack of sleep. When you can't sleep because, I mean, it's one thing if you're excited about something, or you have ideas in the middle of the night and whatever, you can write things down. Actually, when I was stressed, I tried doing that at times, but when you can't get back to sleep because you're so concerned about getting your work done or just everything like that, and it's consistent, when you're like, oh God, I gotta take some melatonin tonight to fall asleep because I can't even, I'm not getting sleep. But sleep is a huge one. I can't really think of all those different little things, but it's just like certain symptoms get there before you get to that breaking point, I think, and just take them. Like when you start noticing a couple things more unique about not sleeping or eating well or any of that stuff, your excessive worry about it, whatever that is, then you take those symptoms earlier on and be like, there's a problem here. And I don't think some places aren't willing to listen to that. It's just that I don't really know if everybody's knowing how to handle that kind of stuff or how to really fix that problem. You know what I mean? And I think where I came from, they didn't know how to fix the problem, even though, because they were aware of it,
Yeah.
I mean, I think anytime you get into a stressful situation, sometimes you get so far into it, you don't see it, there's a way out, and you think there is no way out of it. And you don't necessarily know until you are out of a situation into something else to really be able to look back at it and say, it didn't have to be as difficult as you made it in your own mind. And I think that happens to a lot of people. You build up what you think and a lot of your own perceptions in your own mind. You're your own worst enemy sometimes. And until you realize that, I don't need to do this, or I don't need to have this, or I don't need to be a part of this, and you make that move.
I think that it's refreshing to sort of hear the same thing from them. To get advice from one person is one thing, but when you hear the same thing from 2 different mouths, or in my case, 4 different mouths, you start to see the bigger picture, and I think that that's also super interesting. It seems to me that everybody has the same sort of advice, and that's this: if you're unhappy, then you should leave. I don't know, I guess it'll just come with experience, I suppose. I'm not all down and out about this. I'm not really stressing about the stress interview. I think that it just comes with time. and with the knowledge that it's okay to be stressed. I think that's the main takeaway of all of these interviews. Anyway, I hope you learned something while watching this. I know I did. I hope it gives you a little bit of peace of mind about any issues that you're going through, academic, work, or otherwise. Take care and don't take it too seriously.